I've got a big mouth. I've come out bluntly and honestly, and I've shared my anger. But I think, and I've said this publicly, after I began speaking all over the world and all over this country about subjects as sensitive as the ones we've just been talking about, I concluded that there was someone somewhere who wanted me to do this.
Sure.
Or I could not have gotten away with it.
Absolutely.
And I don't know who that someone is. I may have met him or her. They may have been among those who have come up to me at conferences and shook my hand and said, damn good job, keep it up, you know, something like that.
Okay, so what Dan Burrish says is that part of Majestic wants disclosure and part of Majestic does not.
20 years ago, they were split down the middle.
All right.
We know this.
Right. So what do you think it's at today? Do you think that...
Robert Woods, you know who Bob Woods is?
Absolutely.
Okay, you know his son Ryan?
Yes.
All right, Bob Woods said this to me at a conference in Long Beach a long time ago. He said, I know two members of Majestic. He says they said they're split down the middle, and he says it's a ferocious damn fight. He says it's vicious. He says one half says yes, bring it out. The other half says not only no, but hell no, and not ever. And that group is still calling the shots.
Okay.
You see, we've got a shadow government there. This is a little bit of interest to me as an American. It should be interest to you.
Absolutely.
Do you know how much money $1 trillion is?
No concept, but
It's a lot.
I hear you. Yeah.
Okay. In this country, for 3 years, 98, 99, and 2000, each year there was $2.7 trillion missing from the Pentagon accounts that they could not figure out where the money went. They knew they had it, and then it was gone. Now that's $2.7 trillion a year for 3 years. Now, you think these guys aren't funded well? Oh hell, they're funded better than the United States Army, for Christ's sake. The United States Army doesn't get that kind of, we get money in the billions, but not in the trillions, and not $2.7 trillion a year for 3 years. I have a love-hate relationship with this species. And if I were to be able to grab this species by the collar and slap the living head out of them, I would do so. But what I'm doing here with you and your little camera is, to some degree, doing just that. If my words have any meaning or have any value to not only to you guys, but to anyone in the future who sees this, it is that I love this race. I've been a part of it for 78 years this time. I've seen pure hell. I've been through 2 wars. I'm on my 3rd marriage. I raised 2 kids, lost one to suicide. I've seen things in this life that have affected me a lot. But you see, I know, and don't tell me and don't ask me to explain exactly how I know and how much I know, because I have never shared this before, but I have been contacted. That's very difficult to talk about. I've been abducted. I don't look upon it as an abduction. I look upon it as an invitation, and I've been aboard some of those ships several times. I've had even friends come up to me and say, oh my God. A friend up in Sedona, a doctor, a dentist, he said, I was abducted. And he says, when I came to up there, I look around and I see you standing over in the corner talking to some of these guys. And I said, well, I'm not surprised, because I've been aboard the ship several times.
Do you have conscious recall?
Oh, yes. No hypnotic regression needed when that happens to you, it makes such an imprint on you that you don't need to be hypnotically regressed to remember. I mean, it's there. It's like a scar. It's there. No, I've been aboard several times, and I suspect much of the information I've got about the depth of the societies and the civilizations and the cultures that exist out there, that makes me know how glorious some of them are. And then I look around this mud heap that we're living in here, and I think, knowing what it could be and what it's not, and hopefully what it might be. I touched a nerve here. I've touched a nerve in that I have shared some things with you that I have seldom shared with anybody except the lovely lady I lived with. I don't think I've ever publicly on an interview or anywhere ever shared the fact that I have been aboard their ships. Because if I had ever done that, it would have opened a Pandora's box that I was not prepared to deal with. I learned years ago, before I retired in '76, the government knew not only everything the shape study had in 64, the government knew all of that and more years and years before. They just were not sharing it with anybody.
Right.
We were confronting and dealing with intelligences from other planets, other star systems, other galaxies, and some of the contacts we've had have been intelligence from other dimensions. And I'm all fascinated by the work of Michio Kaku, this brilliant scientist in New York, who is a physicist who is involved in string theory.
Yes.
And I think their latest conclusion is that they concluded there are at least 11 different dimensions. And I've always said that death, when we die, the soul, which I believe is an immortal living creature in itself, simply goes over to the next dimension, which we look upon as death. Well, it isn't death, it's just a higher form of life.
I have one last question, and then I'll let, if Bill has a question, he can go ahead. 2012, have you been told, either by your military contacts, people in the deep black secret government, and or by your alien contacts, anything about that period of time?
It isn't the end of anything. Mm-hmm. It's the beginning. My conclusion is, and I have not been given blah, 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 this is what's going to happen. I've concluded that it involves probably major contact. I mean major. If you think the Phoenix Lights, which I'm sure you're familiar with,
sure.
You're familiar with the Hudson Valley incident some years back, mm-hmm. which makes the Phoenix Lights look like nothing, as I said, small potatoes. I think that these exposures, these flyovers, are going to probably gently continue to increase, and I think in 2012 somehow, I think it's major contact. I think we're going to have it whether we like it, whether we're ready for it or not. I think that by that time, we will be so close to destroying ourselves with a thermonuclear exchange that they're going to step into the zoo and they're going to say, now look, these are some facts, guys. It's time to wake up, time to grow up.